We are in Yerushalmi, Peah, Daf Mem Zion, in those who had a print, and one quick ha'ara based on the Gemara and its comments on the Mishnah. So the Mishnah says that one is not allowed to rig the Peah process, as we've spoken about. Hamocher today, if you sell your field, Hamocher mutar v'lokeach chaser. So the seller is permitted now to collect leket shechen Peah generated by the field, obviously if he's poor, but the buyer, of course, cannot. Then the Mishnah continues, says, Lo yiskar adam as a pol, you're not allowed to hire a worker, almanas sheyilka benav beno acharov, on the condition that this man who you're hiring, his son, could take all the gleanings. And the reason is obviously because it's going to be rigged that way. So then the Gemara explains two comments. Balabai Shasakan, the Gemara says, this is not in the Mishnah, but this is an explanation of the Mishnah. If a field owner does this and hires the worker with a condition that his son could do it, Harehu goes out, could collect. Harehu goes el saniyim. You're stealing from the poor because the poor people all have rights to us. You can't designate any ani. There's no tuvas ana, as we've said many times. Listen to this. Paul Shasakan, and a worker who does this, Harehu goes el balabayas ulaniyim. He's stealing from both. Now that's a very, very strong statement. What's going on? So if you think about it, it's very simple. So Rav Moshe Feinstein is an Oiv Yisrael. In his ha'aras to Yerushalmi, he says the pshat is that because when people make this deal, they usually pay less than the going market. And so now when this man is going to be going through the field and harvesting it, he knows that his son has the right to collect it, he's going to push extra and make sure that he forgets extra and leaves extra. And he's going to do this because he's going to justify it, saying, well, I'm not getting paid the market value of whatever, $20 an hour. I'm only getting paid $15, so I have a right to make this produced. When I read it, I just said the Pashup Shop is that he's going to subconsciously drop extra stuff knowing that his son is going to get the benefit from it, which obviously is Pashup Shot as well. So what do we see? We see that we never want to put ourselves in a situation where our integrity is compromised. And it's impossible. Paul shows, again, if you do this, not only are you stealing from the other aniyim because they should have equal rights to it, not just your son as a designated person, but you're even stealing from the Baal bias, guaranteed, because that's going to motivate you to drop more. So, and again, the question is, in a normal case, he's not going to drop more. If his son was poor, he could also take. Yeah, the answer is, that's where Moshe is coming to explain that there's a subconscious part also. And I would say, again, there's more integrity there because other people are allowed to take it. So therefore, he has no point in dropping extra because it's just going to make his produce look like it's less. That's also part of it. But anyway, my Rebbe, Rav Asher Zeli Rubenstein, that's all. He used to always say that whenever Rashi brings down a Medrash Haggadah, it's always telling us to look into our internal motivation. So for example, when Lot moved away from Avraham, so it says that he saw the Kikar Yarden, and he saw it was Kulo Mashka, which seems to mean that it was very fertile land, so it was a great place to move to bring his animals because they would always have pasture lands. But Rashi says, Medrash Haggadah, that it was a Shtufe Zima. That's really what was motivating him. So Rav Asher, that's all. Used to always say that Rashi's Medrash Haggadah is always the subconscious drives about what's causing us to do things. And so therefore, we always have to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, what am I really doing? And Rav Asher used to always quote a story of the Alter of Kelm. The Alter had a surgery that he needed to do on his eye. And he told his Talmidim that he was going all the way to Königsberg to do it. So his Talmud asked him, Rebbe, could I ask, why aren't you doing it locally? So he said, because in Königsberg, there's a fancy folding umbrella that I saw 30 years ago, and I want to see it again. So Talmud was very confused. So he said, Rebbe, could you explain? So he said, yeah. Really, my doctor said it was better for me to go there. There's better surgical care there. And the procedure will probably be more successful there. And therefore, I have to do my ishtadlus. But I know what's motivating me is my curiosity to see that umbrella again. And so I'm calling it out so I can be aware of what causes it. There's another Navardic story that Rav Asher Zatzal used to always tell over, which is an amazing story, that someone was collecting money with, I believe it was the Alter Navardic, and there was it was snowing, it was freezing cold, and they needed to collect money, and there was a certain Gevir who they were debating whether he was an Erlich person or not, and if they wanted to take his money. And so the Alter and his, I think it was son-in-law or Talmud, they bundled up, and the Alter said, we have to go there, we have to go. They went to his house, and standing in front of his house, he said to this Talmud, okay, we're going home. We're not asking for money. It's not the type of person we want to ask for money. Let's leave. And they left. So he said, Rebbe, we schlepped out for 45 minutes. What was that all about? So he said, I had Negias. I didn't want to leave because it was so cold. And so I thought that's why I was saying that it's not the money we want. But once I got there, then I had no more Negias anymore. And I thought about it and I realized that it's not the right money that we want. And therefore we can't touch that money. It's an amazing awareness to be aware of what drives us, that we're not being gozel bal bias and gozel daniyim. We have to be aware of what are the driving forces inside of us are.